Hey everyone, Val here, and I'm getting ready to do some baking. Steve and I have been invited to a friend of ours' house tomorrow for lunch, and they're going to be grilling some steaks, and we're going to be talking about a cruise next year that we're going to plan to do together with this couple, and I offered to bring dessert. So I gave them a couple of options. I told them that I would either do a key lime pie or I could do like a shortcake with peach topping on it and whipped cream. So they chose the shortcake with peach topping. So I've made this before, but I made it with a shortcake recipe that I had in one of my cookbooks. The cake, I'm not a big cake fan, but the shortcake's dry, more like a biscuit or something. And I wanted something with a little bit more moisture to it, a little bit more flavor, I guess. So, and I know the peaches are the flavor, but I just need something a little more cakey. So I found this recipe on Food Network, and it is a diner style strawberry shortcake, but instead of strawberries, we're going to use fresh peaches, or peaches that Steve and I got from an orchard last year, and we cleaned them and peeled them and pitted them, and we froze them. So that's what we're going to be using, those frozen peaches. I took them out of the freezer this morning, left them on the counter for a little bit to thaw out, and then I put them in the refrigerator. So I've just got to cook those up once I'm done making the cake and getting the cake into the oven. Now, I'm not going to show you the peach topping, because if you look up in my my videos, you can find the peach shortcake recipe that I used for the last time. This one's going to be the dinner style recipe that I got off of the Food Network channel. So what it's calling for is 1.5 cups of flour, and I have it in this big bowl here, and the recipe calls for it to be sifted 3 times. I guess they want it light and fluffy. So I did that. I sifted it 3 times, and it's in here. It's 1.5 cups of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. That's in here. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I have the recipe here, so I'm reading off the recipe. I have 3/4 cup of milk. I have 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I have 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. And I have 1 teaspoon of lemon extract, which I didn't have, so I just squeezed a little bit of lemon into here. It's about a teaspoon worth of lemon. I have 3 eggs, and I have, it's calling for 1 1/4 cup of sugar. I have 3/4 cup of sugar because I always cut my sugar back. So I did cut it back just a little bit there. And then it's calling for the 2 pints of fresh strawberries. Again, I'm using the peaches. And then it has a whipped cream frosting recipe on here, which is a teaspoon of gelatin, 2 cups of heavy cream, 1/2 cup of confectionery sugar, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I am not going to do that. I'm not going to make a frosting for it. I'm not going to frost it. It shows the picture here of what the cake should look like. I'm doing mine different. Okay, because you know me. I'm going to take the recipe because I want a moister cake, but I'm going to do my own style. So I have these molds, and they're a bundt cake pan, but it's individual size. Actually, 1 cake could feed probably 2 to 3 people. But I'm going to use these because they're cute, and you know, you make up your own little one, or you could cut it in half and only eat half of it. But they're more individual size, so everybody can have their own cake. So it's saying to preheat the oven to 350, and I've already done that, so we're going to get started here. And I'm just going to move a couple of these ingredients out of my way so I don't spill them, and move these back. And what it's saying to do first is, in a large bowl, sift the flour, baking powder, and salt. So I'm going to add the baking powder and the salt. I didn't sift those because I wanted to show you that I had them. Oh, So sorry. Let me face you down. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to put the salt in. And then it's saying sift it together 3 times. So we've already done that, but I'm just going to kind of stir it, mix the salt and the baking soda in with the flour that's been sifted 3 times. So we've got that nice and mixed up. We're going to set that aside, and we're going to go over to the stove because the next step in the recipe is over at the stove. So let's move over there. I've got my burner on medium heat, and it's saying in a small saucepan, mix together the milk and the butter, and we're going to bring it to a boil. So I'm just going to let this warm up and come to a boil. My butter's melted and it looks like it's at a boil right now. So it's saying once it comes up to a boil to remove it from the heat. And we're going to do that. Go ahead and remove it from the heat. And we're going to add our vanilla and our lemon to it. Lemon extract. Okay, and then I'm just going to set it up here aside. Take it off the hot burner and just set it up here. Okay, then we're going to go on to the next step. Now my next step says, in a separate bowl, beat the eggs and sugar until pale yellow and fluffy and double in volume. While still beating, drizzle the hot milk mixture, fold into the flour mixture. So we're going to put the sugar in with the eggs, and we're going to beat this till it's doubled in size. Let's do that. Okay, so that's really fluffy, and I believe it's doubled in size. So it says now that this is done, I'm going to keep the beaters running, and I'm going to drizzle in the milk and butter mixture. So let's do that. Now I drizzled that in relatively slow because I didn't want my eggs to cook from that hot milk and butter mixture. So I just drizzled that real slow in there. Now let's take this over. It looks pretty good. This is a pretty simple recipe. It really doesn't take that long. So we're going to take this back over to the other counter, to my island, and let's finish up this recipe. So we're just going to turn this slowly into the flour mixture. It says just to kind of fold it in. Now remember, we sifted our flour in 3 times, kind of make it nice and fluffy, I guess. I guess they're trying to make a fluffy mixture here. So make sure it doesn't have any lumps in it. This is a really thin cake mixture. Trying to fold it in, but it still seems kind of lumpy, so I really want to make sure that there's no lumps of flour into it. Okay, we have our little cups here. We're going to go ahead and put some of this batter into the cups. And I think I'm going to fill them probably about that full. Hopefully there's enough for 4 of them here. Now this recipe shows that it makes a cake this big. There's no way that this recipe would make a cake that big because it barely filled up 4 of these little tiny containers. So I would say you would have to like triple this recipe or something to get it to be a 2-layer cake. This shows how much batter it made. That's not hardly any batter at all. So I'm going to put these in the oven. We're going to time it, see how long it takes. I'm going to start out with probably 10 to 15 minutes because they're not very big. But let's throw it in the oven, see what happens. I just wanted you to go ahead and look at the ingredients. If you want to write them down, just slow down the video and write down the ingredients. There's the ingredients for the whipped cream frosting. And there's a picture of what the cake should look like. There's no way that this recipe is going to make that much cake. But here are your cooking instructions. Whipped cream frosting, your strawberries. Again, we'll see what it tastes like. I'm not going to be able to try it to do a sample because there wasn't enough. There was only enough to make 4 of the little tins that I have. So I didn't have any extra. I will just have to hope that when we eat it tomorrow, it's going to taste good. But I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. Okay, I just took them out of the oven. They were in for 20 minutes. The tops are hard, but they're not brown, but there is browning around the sides. And I put a toothpick in and it came out clean. So, I mean, they smell good. I hope they taste good. I'm just gonna hope for the best, I guess. That's what they look like. I'm working on my peach sauce. I got a couple more minutes to cook my peach sauce, and then I'll let that cool and put that in the refrigerator. I'm gonna take the cakes out of the pan and get those into the refrigerator, or just leave them on the counter to cool for the night. I'm not gonna put them in the refrigerator. But the peach sauce I'll put in the refrigerator. But that's going to be our dessert for tomorrow morning. I'll show you the cakes when I take them out of the pan. I'm going to just give them a few minutes to cool. Well, that's how the cakes turned out. They do look good and they do smell good. So I think they're going to be just fine. The peach sauce is still cooling. I'm going to let that cool down probably about another half hour before I put it in the refrigerator. I'm just going to cover these over when they get cooled. And we'll have those ready for lunch for tomorrow with our peach sauce, and I have a can of whipped cream that I'm going to take with us, and we'll have the dessert ready to go. It's the next day, and we've been to our friend's house. We've had our lunch there. The steaks were wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom and Kim. we really truly had a good afternoon. Had some steaks and baked potato and a garden salad, and then we had our dessert. The dessert cake had a lot of flavor. I thought the flavoring was spot on. It was really good, but it was real dense. It was a dense cake. It wasn't dry, but it was really dense. So, I mean, I think it was meant to be that way. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. For me, that I am not a big cake person, and it just seemed really dense to me, but I think that's how it was meant to be. Overall, flavor was very good. The cake was good. The topping was good, of course, and we enjoyed everything, the whole meal. The cake, we enjoyed the steaks, the potato, the conversation. Just enjoyed our afternoon. So I just wanted to give you the update on the tasting of the cake. Everybody seemed to enjoy it.